Hey, I don't know how well this is going to pick up because I can't see very well, but I've got a speech that Lord had me write because today I'm moving into a position as a spiritual judge, and I was instructed to write a speech, get some things off my chest concerning my accolades and the things that I've been doing over the past 10 years, or actually, I've been doing it longer than that, but 10 years is when I've really been strong and hot and heavy. So, anyway, um, I'll read the speech to you, and you'll have to bear with me because it's about 5 pages long, front and back. I've had to wait an awful long time to receive my accolades to be public knowledge, and I've had a time continuing my life's work without getting paid for it. I've had to put long hours in, years, or being super focused and putting out my downloads and receiving them as well. My contract forbid me to receive from my wheel of fortune until it was properly locked in and ready to bring out the finished products of years' worth of dedication, design, and maneuvering, shifting my my pieces on my own board of trustees for my own corporation and branch off companies' resources. All the finances has been reinvested for the past 10 years in all my intellectual properties that have already been stolen and used with proof supplied. I gave out some of the information on different companies and intellectual properties. The original thought or spoken assertion has got timestamps, and my system has been documenting, filling, and implementing according to my design that registered every interaction that I've had with my systems. Just a second. Sorry, I had to turn more light on. Okay. I filed and timestamped all of my documentation for the different companies and the different designs for systems, the layouts, and the scripts. It's called Angel Design Scripts. Okay. For further proof who is thieving and how they thieving and when they attempted to get away with taking credit for my work, I have designed something on my system that will show who was present near me, anybody sitting near me or that was present within my presence when I spoke about, or first laid my, ideas out. And it'll tell that way the trail can be traced exactly to when it was taken and who did what and the how. And that's the way it was designed to cover my butt. Because I've had so many people try to steal my intellectual properties that I really had to design a system that kind of to protect myself right there. And I was instructed to do that along the way. But I'm the sole proprietor of 3 companies, a major corporation that encompasses all of my companies, corporations, and design firm, and software, hardware companies. Okay. It's called, okay, I'm a sole proprietor of all of my designs, so nobody else. I've tried to offer other people opportunities to work with me and to help me design some things. Nobody was interested in taking me serious. So I said, well, I'll just hang on and intend it myself. but all of the money's been reinvested. Nothing could be spent out of it until it was completely ready. So I stepped up into this position, and then an inheritance is to be released for the other members of the collective also. But to get to a place where you're a spiritual judge, that takes a whole lot. But I'm going to read about that down further in here, so I'll just kind of bear with me there. Okay, there's one company. It's called Proprietors Insured Origins Policies, which is policies that guarantee, any insures the origins to be traceable, to be documented, of all of my creations. This way it can't be stolen. This guarantees my complete control over all assets coming from or associated with my creations, and duly responsible for any changes which are also documented as concerning upgrades. No one can take what my blood, sweat, and tears have built for my empire. And my empire will not be left to the mongrels and the dogs, those who have stolen intellectual properties from my table of gracious creative works. Nobody can be in control of my life except me, and nobody can tell me what my life's purpose is. There has been an extreme amount of opposition to me being on my divine path, but I chose obedience over going with what the crowd thinks. The crowd don't feed my soul, but my divine purpose does. My spirit is nourished by my working within my spiritual calling and utilizing the gifts that come with my spiritual ranking. Judge ye not, lest ye be judged. Being a spiritual judge only comes after one has faced the white throne judgment and the weighing of the heart judgment, or rather assessment, where your heart must be as light as a feather. After passing through both, one must be cleared into both realms to then be sworn in to uphold spiritual law in all ways dealing with souls, missions, and inheritance. Spiritual judge can call court in session from wherever they are at in whatever realm. Now I call spiritual court into session and can write out formal summons to appear and account. I can call ancestor witnesses to handle showing evidence or bringing up charges on offenders in cases where violations of spiritual law is where they're under universal protection have been offered. The courts are backed up because it's so hard to become a spiritual judge because of the strict criteria passing the white throne judgment. It's hard. You're judged by the law of Moses, and if you get cleared from that, the halls of Ma'at is equally as hard. Your good deeds must far outweigh your bad deeds, and your heart cannot be heavy with guilt or reproach. And then you have a task to accomplish in the underworld and on the physical. These tasks on the underworld are determined by whatever the results from your weighing of the heart and your white throne judgment are. Those things determine what task you're going to have to endure doing the underworld to kind of prove yourself and lay the groundwork for your higher position, and to going into usually having to serve in the courts. That's for royalty. You have to serve in the courts there. It's expected of us to honor divine law by serving in the courts of heaven and light. So it's a very prestigious place to get to that one can become qualified to do so. And you take that seriously, and being in service to the collective is pertinent because we have kingdoms to run, and those spiritual courts keep that running and flowing and keep things, the ebb and flow and the balances in check there for things. I'm sorry I got outside of my speech, but I just had to explain that for a minute. Okay. The underworld task could be to learn about the soul's journey and open your Akashic records to receive your inheritance. This is about heritage, life's purpose, and as it unfolds in divine timing, you will receive ancestral guidance, and it takes a spiritual judge to call for the scrolls to be downloaded for the collective. The scrolls have information that Spirit is sharing with collective about the afterlife and reincarnations. After you're cleared to judgment, you go get information that you need to do required tasks in the underworld. Then the ancestors and spirit guides come into your assessment learning center to assist you. Also, loved ones and ancestors who learn from you before they go through their next reincarnation watch you go through all of your underworld tasks. Now, I had an intense amount of ancestors observing my underworld task. My trial by fire shows how you react as the Holy Spirit, like a fire, is over you like a cloud. How you react during trial while touching the Holy Spirit. This determines how your anointing is to be utilized and if you are able to contain the Holy Spirit and embody it while you're experiencing life. A high priestess can call on the Spirit to anoint your crown and bring important information for your lineage. Your lineage may not always be blood relatives. All spiritually royal members of the court are considered lineage tied to Holy Divine Spirit. The courts of the spiritual realm are strictly maintained and ran by true royal beings who understand spiritual laws, and the royals represent the houses below them in the kingdoms of heavenly light. The courts are mainly filled with otherworldly beings because most humans cannot withstand the judgment, and they are not equipped to achieve the task completion requirements from the underworld. And you've got to be judged in the courts before you can be judged. I agreed to let everybody in the world judge me. Pretty much everybody laid the hammer down on me, and I had to stand there and take it for many, 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 many years of being steadily judged. And every little action that I made, an interaction, was judged on that scale, on all the way around. And I can't believe that I made it through it. But since I did, it opened the doorway up for the spiritual judge to sit on that throne and be called the spiritual court into session so that we can begin this. Not everybody has to go through such, but if you serve in the courts of heaven in your royal lineage, you're expected to do so. So you've got to really, that don't mean you just act any way you want to. They have to act more responsible than anybody else because we get held to a stronger and higher standard because too much is given, much is required. And that's true. Okay, so the courts are filled with otherworldly beings mainly. Humans just really can't take the white throne judgment and can't have their hearts are not usually light as a feather because they're, they have to go through a lot of spiritual growth to be conditioned to be able to handle it. And then even if they do get through that, they would rarely be able to get through the underworld task. An underworld task you don't go into the underworld and do completely. Now you become multidimensional and you are like in 5 different places at one time. Parts of you will be in the underworld while you'll be simultaneously moving through tasks here, which are compatible and in alignment and parallel to the task that you're going through in the underworld, but they still affect everyone, has cause and effect. Here, the task in the underworld affects you here on this plane, so as this plane affects what's going on in the underworld. So it both, as they're parallel and bilateral there, they can both affect each other. But most earth angels are usually officials of the spiritual courts that can usually submit requests to have matters looked into where humanity's well-being is concerned. This is something earth angels rule in those courts too, because earth angels can bring the charges up, they can have matters reviewed, they can request information, they can request Akashic libraries to be open for lineages. When they clear the path from one person in the lineage, clears the path for the rest of them, for their whole lineage, then the earth angels can open up the gates, to their Akashic records, and so that's what the earth angels' purpose, a big purpose is. Earth angels tend to have to deal with entities and things that human beings wouldn't know how to deal with. And if they're not multidimensional, they would never be able to understand how those things are all correlate and how to handle them, or, it's just too far-fetched for most people. Human beings, just plain humans that haven't tapped into their divinity, or earth angels that haven't waken up and have dimmed their light too much. Sometimes when an earth angel dims their light too down, it cannot be reignited. It just stays that way. I mean, it don't never go completely out unless you fall from grace and do a really evil act that's uncalled for and unconscionable. Okay, so the earth angels can submit matters before the courts. They can draw up summons to have appearances. They can request to have matters looked into by the courts, and they can even draw up papers on the spiritual realm in order to have it handed down to the 3D and bring it to the court. On the 3D level, the earth angels can do that too. They can, subpoena records for this, that, and other, and have records from the spiritual realm delivered into the 3D and ordered into, evidence, so forth, and so on. But they kind of act like paralegals of the spiritual realm and the spiritual court, and assistants like maybe lawyers. I don't want to say that they act as attorneys, but more like I'm trying to think of the name of the word. Apprentice, yeah. The attorneys' apprentices, yeah. Because they specialize in magical matters, and they can order for, have the courts look into evidence in order for someone's spiritual rank to be reduced or removed. I probably don't need to go into real great detail about what all goes on. Y'all really, if you channel some things yourself and pray to God and ask and see what you can come up with, what kind of information that you can draw to you about spiritual court. But I will be providing a time and a way that some questions can be answered for y'all. I don't know how exactly I'm going to go about doing that, and the when and the how, but there will be some, it's definitely in the cards for the future to be able to answer y'all's questions and have some earth angels possibly when they get prepared to help me to answer some of the questions and generate a safe space that we can talk about things and where information can be shared and you can be taught, explained, or, informed, briefed upon some of the ways that this is going to work and how it's expected to be effective and how it's kept in order. There'll be questions answered, and I'm sure that between now and the time we can finally do a press release or, however we go about doing it, we may do a meeting on meetups and talk to some court officials on this realm and see how it can be coordinated. But I'm not going to do all the work myself, though. So I'm praying that God will divinely guide some of the other members of the courts on this realm and the spiritual realm to assist in giving the public some of this information that they need and explaining things a little bit better. So I'm just passing along the messages I'm asked to, and I'm really getting way off kilter from what I'm doing. I haven't even got 3 pages in on the speech yet, and I got about 3 more to go, front and back. So I'm going to continue on, and hopefully I can get through this. It's already been 22 minutes in, so I know I'm long-winded today. Y'all bear with me, but this information is important information that needs to be shared with y'all. I can begin to look into cases as soon as I receive the office space equipment to handle business normally. Then I will be able to officially release the inheritances to the earth angels who will work on human affairs and fairness and inheritances as well. The earth angels get their financial gains first because we put a lot of work in and we have to be able to eat and survive and live comfortable and provide home offices for ourselves where we can work out of and keep up with everything that we need to and design our systems. And we already know the softwares out there that put out the different new software for the court systems and things. The earth angels can get, that we can handle that. We don't need any help with that because we can design our own system based on the blueprint that God, and the prototype, of how that works. But the earth angels will be getting their inheritances first because we are the inheritances. We are those that are divine by origin, and we have put the work in to perfect that in ourselves, and we are essentially the closest to our Creator at the moment, and that inheritance belongs to us. However, that's not saying that it doesn't belong to others. I'm not saying that at all. We're just saying that God is entrusting the earth angels that receive their inheritance first to trickle down and see what the needs are of those below and how it can be, dispersed where everybody can have their needs met without anybody having to do without, so that we basically all draw a very good wellspring of inheritance and spiritual inheritance as well as physical inheritance from what we have on the back burner here. And it's a whole lot of overspill that's coming, so it's going to be, don't feel like it's not going to be enough or feel lack-minded about it, because it's not. We worked really hard, the earth angels did, to build up this wealth and to reinvest and reinvest and reinvest until we have a lot of overflow there. And the way that we've designed it, it's going to keep on going and growing. And we're not going to have to just come up with, there's not going to be any great big mundane expenses that come up that hasn't already been prepared for, thought about, and calculated and factored in. Those things aren't going to be coming up the way they did before. So we're not going to be in that lie back mentality, and we're not going to be in that mind frame anymore that we were in before. So, but anyway, the earth angels will do the right thing. They've been tested and tried. They've been through the fires. They've been through everything that you could possibly think of in both judgments. And they made it through it. And there's enough of us that we can make sure that these funds are allocated properly. It's not going to be just up to one of us. We have good connection with divine, and we can ask God for anything we need to know about how to get. He'll guide us exactly how we need to go, and we will help each other to stay in the loop there of what needs to happen with that to keep everything going. And the way that works is that as long as we're going out of the goodness of our heart and our heart stays on our purpose and our missions, it won't have no choice but to go according to God's plan, because that's all he needs is the willing vessels. And he's got them willing vessels. We've already made it through those thresholds. And spiritual court's already been called into session first time. And here we are. I'm making a statement to y'all now about how this is going to work and announcing for, briefing here. So, and it's my graduation day. Technically, I know it's Thanksgiving too, I just went through the coronation and get my crown activated, completely, maybe less than a week ago. So I'm having a lot of big things coming up this week. So anyway, that extra crown activation will help me to be able to get downloads that I need to too. Okay. All right. You must look into the cases to see if anyone has just due coming, or if they owe the courts for restitution or fines, because there's going to be some of the people who are not on the good side that won't be able to go through the judgment right now, that are going to be their cases are going to be looked into, and they're going to be shown to owe the courts restitution because of monies that they've already taken, illicit funds and things, and they owe the other members, they owe somebody the money that they've taken away from their livelihood, and they've got to pay it back, and the courts are going to help to balance that out so that everybody gets their inheritances. So big corporations and companies that have been taken for a long time are probably going to be the ones that owes the restitution. And even if they do, there won't be just sucked out of them really fast. It's just going to be a reasonable amount taken to pay back what they owe, and, the courts will decide what is reasonable and what is fair. Now, anybody not complying with those suggestions and recommendations, they'll take it all and disperse it how they want to, and you will not be allowed to run a business in this new system. That the earth angels are actually helping to guide us through. We're in total control. So, you won't be able to operate and make money or do anything. You can get a room and sit there to yourself and be fed your 3 meals a day and your basic care taken care of. And you won't be able to go out there and do what everybody else can, because you don't get to live your best life when you are not doing right. And, no matter what you've done before, this is a different day. So if you don't think that you're about to have to get right, you might ought to rethink that position. Hard-headedness and stubbornness is not going to be a good way to live life anymore. Okay. This will be new for me to hold a position of Hierophant spiritual judge and be naturally a Cancer sun sign. Because Cancers really don't want to have to judge nobody. And I don't feel, people are going to say, what gives you the right to judge me? Nobody but God can judge me. Well, God put me to judging you. I know what I had to go through. A hell of a process to get to the point where I qualified to do that. And I guarantee you would rather have me judging you than you have the ancestors making recommendations and God just going with what they say. Because some of those ancestors have seen what all y'all done. They've seen the things that I'll never see because I don't want to see all of it. God knows I don't want to have to look at how much hatefulness y'all got in you, or people do. Okay. It's a huge responsibility that I have never had to balance out with life. I'm going to have to put all my attention on spiritual court to be performing up to par. I don't feel like that I should half-step this. I'm a bit nervous about serving on that level. However, I know there are a few qualified earth walkers who has the capacity to serve in the multidimensional facet. That being said, it's not a place that you want to jump into really quickly and get mad about because you're seeing me as a flesh being. You're not seeing all the shit that I had to go through to qualify me to make just and sound decisions and judgments. And I can't get biased on that with a personal opinion. It has to be go by the book. It can't be me getting all swayed and in my feelings and then making emotional decisions that have to reflect and affect other people's lives and have any lasting impact on them, because I can't take the chance of overdoing it or, and I always will discuss my findings before I make an order and implement it. I will make sure that I get with a panel of earth angels and discuss and make sure that they don't have any recommendations that might be more suited, because I would do that at least for a while until it may be forever. It may just be the way, if I have the means to do so, it's the way I'm going to make all my decisions concerning the spiritual court rulings, because I take it very seriously. I take that part of my spiritual journey very seriously. And I know that spiritual court is no joke. Spiritual jail is no joke. This will be explained to you a little bit more on in this speech, or whatever you call a speech. It's just me reading off a bunch of stuff to you. I guess I went veered way off of the speech thing. Okay. That means that I have to literally be in up to 5 places at one time spiritually. And it takes just really being able to be in control of your senses to willfully shift between 5 different timelines or time dimensions, whatever. I'm very accurate and I have a lot of confidence in my abilities, but I am leery of making a wrong decision. So I'm glad that I will have other earth angels is to work these cases with. This is what I'm saying. I'm glad, thank God, for the other earth angels, that I don't have to do this by myself, and I can get some opinions from somebody who's had shared similar experiences. And there'll be other judges to be able to come up and relieve me from this when it's time. But for right now, I've got to serve until we get things underway. And I'm going to have to let go of just about everything else besides getting this in order. So saith the Lord. The first cases will be for the higher ranking earth angels or magistrates connected to earthly courts as well. All earthly laws can be reflected or will reflect spiritual laws on the physical, so that there are laws against violations that can be physical and spiritual both, one is upheld by the other. Spirit law is violation resulting in spiritual jail, calls for spiritual arrest, and having a psychic leash on or binding to whatever contract must be served out as a result of the spiritual violation. In violation of spiritual violation, where you have committed a spiritual offense, you have to go under contract to correct those issues, or you completely get forfeit your spiritual ranking forever. The only way you can keep your ranking, or you can go back to that ranking, it's going to be immediately be dropped. You'll be reprimanded. But there's processes and protocol there for that too, and it's reasonable. But let me explain to you about a psychic leash. A psychic leash, if you was to see this from the spiritual realm, you might look in the mirror, you may see a person, what looks like a person, but it's actually probably an entity or earth angel that's fallen or being reprimanded. They kind of have a pole, looks like like a collar around their neck on a pole that's got a pole connected to it, where it can, it can be lifted off, up and down off of it. It does this thing. It's got magnetism, and the magnetism is jacked up where, it won't allow you to do any spiritual scrolling or anything. You won't be able to actually astro travel. It prevents any type of spiritual activity outside of just the basic inward, what you can do in your mind. You can't go outside of that. You have to stay within. And that's all you can do. You can't actually penetrate anything else to reach out and to, connect telepathically. None of the ways that are natural to earth angels. So it's like being in a freezer without no cover on or something. Because it's like what it would be like to be an earth angel and not have your powers and abilities that come natural to you after you get used to operating in those gifts and abilities. Then it would be like being naked in the cold, for real, to be without them. But a psychic leash it's necessary sometimes. It's something that the courts orders for intense spiritual violation, and it serves as a reminder why you do want to be mindful of spiritual law and you don't want to abuse your gifts should you be given them, and they should be unlocked. You got to be able to keep them, and you can't neglect to implement spiritual law and respect and appreciate those gifts. Misuse will definitely forfeit your rights to them, and you will be strictly, because of the nature of the danger of those gifts being misused. There's some strict punishments. I know psychic leeches sounds like a lot, and maybe somebody's going to say, well, that. No, it's not, because it's torture and it's a violation of your free will to spiritually attack somebody, which is usually what, if you ain't spiritually attacking nobody, you probably never going to have to worry about getting put on psychic leash. It's when you think that you can just do whatever you want to and do anything to somebody and torturing, abusing people, and inflicting your psychic attacks on them. Yeah, you'll get hooked up on a psychic leeching, and it could be indefinitely if it's bad enough. And the courts don't think you could ever be trusted again. You can just lose your spiritual gifts altogether. Eventually, even if you're an earth angel, you can be stripped completely down, your armor taken off, your wings taken, all your gifts, your rank stripped. Okay, the first cases will be for the higher ranking earth angels or magistrates. Okay, I've already read that. Okay, psychic leashes. That's what I just told you about. Okay. A psychic leash prevents spying or attacking someone's third eye, intuition, or crown chakras. One can be ordered by courts if it is known, shown, or suspected that a person misuses or refuses to assist their bloodline using the psychic and intuitive gifts. That's what I forgot to mention. Yeah, if you refuse to use your gifts to do what you're supposed to, what you're giving them to start with, because when you're given those gifts, you are signing a contract to use those gifts for a certain purpose. And if you go against that contract by not doing that, and you're in violation of that, then yes, you're going to be in some trouble. One thing, you're going to lose the gifts, and you're going to be, or you're going to be keep the gifts and be put under severe. Anyway, I'll just skip that for right now. A light worker will fully dim down also loses their clarity, and a psychic leash shows up, divining in the mirror as long as the pole is at the back of the neck and a round magnetic lamp around the neck or throat areas that prevents any downloads from being intercepted or refusal of the call. Yeah, so that's the biggest thing. Is refusal of the call will get you a psychic leash. It'll get you where you can't even intercept a download. You can't get nothing. You're just standing there looking stupid at the edge of, well, way back away from everybody else. And spiritually, you can't even go towards them. The only place you can go at that point would be to Anubis Dude's bar, where you can be free from the leash and like you're human as long as you're in there, and you can speak to other earth angels, work it out where you can work out how you might get off of the leash and whatever, cut a deal, do your new contract, see how you can work it off, or whatever your violation is, hey, so I'll explain that to you again too. It's already been like 42 minutes, so it's called Mid Center, where Anubis Dude's bar at, and it's a bar right there in the middle, and earth angels, entities, royal bloodlines, goddesses and goddesses, they meet there for discussion on what's happening in the courts and what's happening in the kingdoms, news, the work as far as the kingdom works that are being done and changes that are happening. So that's not any concern of human beings, because you don't get to go in there if you haven't gone through the judgments and been cleared. You don't go in there anyway. Humans win, angels one entity cannot enter. Interdimensional bar because they are really not capable of understanding the business that is handled. There occasionally a spiritual judge can grant hearings which can be arranged at Anubis Dudes. Now the hearings get arranged at Anubis Dudes, but we're not having the hearings at Anubis Dudes. Now they can be arranged there, discussed, and brought up for, say, hey, review. We need to have a meeting, or but they're not had there. We don't have them there for the courts. Let's keep that. You can discuss meetings that need to be had, but you can't have a meeting in there. Okay. Meetings for earth angels and the entities they work with are supported and produce, which means court can't be called into Anubis Dude's bar. We're not going to call court in session at the bar. Okay. But we may meet to discuss what we need to bring to before the courts. Who needs to go up for review, what needs to be take place. And, I could possibly, if I'm in there, jot down some notes. And then once I get home in my office, I can arrange to do the meetings, and do that accordingly. It's just like a medium ground to be meeting to touch base and find out where things are. Meetings for earth angels and entities they work with are supported and produced at Nubis Dudes. Okay, see, we're producing. When I say producing the meetings, it's talking about what we're discussing in there is going to lead up to having a meeting later on. But everything that this meeting is going to encompass or needs to be brought up, that's what we discuss in there. We say, hey, this needs to be talked about, this needs to be talked about, this needs to be talked about. Maybe another person says, I need to add to that, or I got an opinion on this. Okay, then we just coordinate that all together, but that's what I mean by producing what will be had at the meetings. And supported there, which means when you're in there, you're in support of the courts having their meeting in session and moving on forward with getting the inheritances rolling out, getting everybody's scrolls dropped where everybody can get their downloads, and more instructions can come through, for earth angels and other heathen people. Regular human beings can get downloads from those scrolls then, and they'll be able to be more divinely guided and go ahead, they can be getting used to that. That's what has to happen. You have to get the scroll opened up and dropped into your bloodline before you can start getting messages. But that makes it a lot easier for your bloodlines to be divinely guided and know what page they're on. And the scrolls are all able to be coordinated and, commune respectfully with each other. Okay. We meet there as equals to even the playing field. Okay, as far as there's no rank considered. Right then, we're just people talking. We may be court officials or whatever. It may be our jobs. But we meet in there just as the forefront. There's no rank. It's your place. It's casual. And people, the entities, the earth angels can just be themselves in there. They don't have to be so diplomatic. It's kind of, because not everybody can be diplomatic all the time. And somebody gets a little mouthy at Anubis Dudes and they say things how they feel, they may not be able to just come out in the courts and say how they feel, but they'll be held in contempt. But they say how they feel at Anubis Dudes because that's when we have that opportunity to speak as you would speak if you're sitting on the living room couch. Doing mirror magic on a chosen one will result in a psychic leash, meaning it gives you migraines and neck pains when you attempt to use divination, period, so long as you have a leash is actively enforced. Mirror magic chosen equals psychic leash, neck pain equals magnetic. Feels like you're being pulled apart because spiritually you are being separated from your original spirit, energetic, etheric being. Sometimes the light cannot reside inside one after they violate their soul by deliberately afflicting another without having good, sound reason and being approved by council and ordered by the courts. Okay. Don't do anything you would not or do not want to be done to you. I feel I'm going to have to set some time apart to do questions and answers for those who are curious about joining your own divinity or breaking karmic barriers. Set the fabrication, the denial, the illusion aside, and discover what all is truly out there for you and others. It hasn't been easy to get to where I'm at because I've dealt with the worst and survived it. I chose the road less traveled because of that I have made my path in life more stable, more able to withstand minor shaking. I have been dedicated even when the resolve wasn't apparent. I built wealth in my life from pennies that I have gotten paid to protect this country and actually to caregive for the whole of humanity. I've learned to be selfless, but also grounded, sensible, and have boundaries. I've learned to walk alone, not need to explain my every move to other people, and not require approval from my peers. To be okay when misunderstood, to not feel compelled to defend myself just because people are determined to misunderstand me. I'm carrying on something from my bloodline. In a world true nobility, inner shine, not all my kin are truly a part of my bloodline. My family can't accept that I've been in my life purpose for a long time now. I'm so happy to do the spiritual work that I'm embossed in. I work to free the souls of my ancestors who didn't have a voice. They received vindication for the things that they were wrongfully convicted of, the things many did at the hands of men who was much less than themselves. Today, I just want to help you all and all the remnants of the royal bloodlines through this continual loop of karma and give their families a new start. The true royals need to stand up and lead from the heart. Operate with your counsel aligned with purpose, with your crown, Operate with your crown aligned with purpose. Clear your intentions, get on the same page with the divine creator. You cannot stop justice. You can never stop the truth, no matter how much folks try to hee-haw around and prevent people from receiving that rightfully belongs to them. I wish to bring honor to my ancestors by doing what they were not able to do. By me breaking those chains on this realm, the old contracts are broken, there for them as well. Today I received my title as a spiritual judge, and I just got coronated a few days ago last week, crown activation. Well, my position is secure as spiritual judge. God said I am fair and just, and he trusts me to handle that job. I know I'm a lot to handle because I don't do well with small talk. I'm ocean deep, and superficial endeavors just are not truly fulfilling for me. I have been isolated, and I feel like being alone too because of my family seeks to punish me because they are still, I can't even read my own writing, they're still under the impression that I require their approval. I do not need half-hearted support or haters whose favorite saying is, I love you. Throughout my attacks while I was under false investigation, put on government watch list just because I'm intelligent, government and dehumanized by my neighbors who smiled in my face and used every weapon behind my back presently, themselves as a happy, normal family, disguised. I don't appreciate the things that have been done to me. The worst is that these scumbags knew I was psychic and aware of the treachery down behind my back on me. I got stalked every time I left my house, much deeper than what anybody can know. That's just the tip of the iceberg. I demanded justice, and I called spiritual court into session. I would request a whole panel of earth angels go over the claims, review the evidence, and look over my responses to the trauma and bring the facts to the case to the evidence shop, what shows, and give their assessment. I would then request the Earth Angel panel of court magistrates to make recommendations to bring truth to the surface and justice for the wrongdoing. I was under extreme abuse, even torture, with every weapon of chaos. They interfered and aggravated situations between me and my husband of 30 years, 2 years flying drones over my home. They even ran across my roof, tapping on it and playing music at the frequency that they knew my clairaudience could pick up. And they tortured me by never letting me be free of the triggers. However, I couldn't stop them, so I learned how to use my abilities that were afraid of becoming well known, but it's too late. Well, yeah, they were really afraid of me becoming well known because of my abilities, but I think it's a little bit too late for that now. I think the cat's out of the bag, so to speak. And I hope their marriages are done, and I hope that, and I can't say that I wish them better. Now, these people didn't care about my marriage. They didn't care about how I felt. They didn't care about my well-being. How am I going to care about their marriage? You think I want them to be camped out? No, I think their marriage ought to be destroyed so they can't gather up as a family and attack another person. I want them all split up from each other. I want them to not even ever speak to each other again, because just if it'll prevent them from being able to inflict more torture and abuse on another person that they take a dislike to, or if they get bored because they don't have anything better to do, or they need to feel better about themselves and be in a group no matter whether they're wrong, dead wrong or not. I hope their marriages are done, and I hope that they never get it in peaceful night's sleep, because they disrupted mine. And I'm telling you, that's fair. That's just an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. Reap what you sow. So if I have to order that, I would order that they never have a peaceful marriage. They never have a peaceful night's sleep. My neighbors that put me through this shit for a good 10 years. Good 10 years of doing that, next door to me. So, yeah, I think it needs to be. And I still made it through it. And I'm not bitter. I do forgive them, but that's still what I will order from the court. But I would like somebody else to make that decision on this one and recommendations before that's a solid decision. That's just my opinion. I would like that to be reviewed by the council and all the evidence submitted and reviewed by all the Earth Angels councils to let them see what they think before they can see just how deep it went. Because I'm sure that if I knew all of what they did, I probably would make a even harsher decision than that. And I don't want to, because it's too personal for me. So I would have to step outside of that. I tell you what my opinion is and what I think about it, but I don't want that used as, against the court or to, it's just my opinion or what. If you ask me, that's what I say. But I think they should at the least pay restitution, and since they want to steal somebody's inheritance and block somebody from getting what's rightfully theirs, I don't think they should be given anything. I don't think they should have anything earthly, earthly possessions or anything of value. But that's my opinion too. And I think maybe that some of the ancestors and the earth angels might take a worse approach than I did to it. That's one that I think I would just have to ask them to make their determination on, and I will go with whatever, whatever they determine, because I don't want it to be in my hands. It might be too biased, and I know that wouldn't be right, and I'd feel more comfortable if they make that decision for me, and I'll just go with it, even if I don't get the justice that I would love to have. But you know what? That's something that I can't say either, because how can I say that I love to have that justice when even it doesn't make me happy to know that my enemies will be suffering the way that I've had to suffer. That don't make me happy. It really, truly don't. And it don't make it better. But it does. It's the only way they're going to reap what they sow is to feel what they put other people through. Otherwise, they're never going to care what they do to other people. I never in my life would have believed that just many people try to block somebody's life purpose and soul mission. I've got to ask y'all, why would anyone wish to recode the freaking Matrix? Does that sound like someone is asking to be put into another deep illusion rather than to have full transparency? So stay delusional all by yourself. Why would you even want to recode something that traps your spirit and mind in illusions? I'm happy outside of the box, seeing things for what they really are, even if it's not comfortable. But to recode mind control suggests that one is unable to think for themselves. As hard as I fought to break out of the chains on my body and mind and soul, spirit, I want no parts of any matrix and expect, especially not recoding just the worst delusional. But usually, crappy humans don't care to see the reality of the situation because that doesn't show them in a good light. Unreasonable expectations. Someone can get real disappointed that things don't work out the way they want it to. When you hold on too tight to uncertain outcomes. Now, imagining to end my extra long speech that God had me write for my graduation and my dedication to taking position as a spiritual judge. One more task to add before my divine resume. Thanks for listening to my speech. And I'm just going to have to end it here because I have went like a whole hour and 2 minutes. I've talked about a lot of things, a vast amount of subjects, and I've got on to subjects that most people have probably never heard of, and maybe you think I'm crazy. It doesn't matter to me what you think. The other things that knows what I mean is getting the proper information that they need, and it's at least a briefing so that it just even the average layman can know that we're on a whole different page here and that we are trying to get something moving forward in the courts of heaven and the courts on earth to have justice and vindication for our peoples, our ancestors, our spirit guides, and all the hosts of heaven should be relieved that we are pushing forward and that time has come that we're about to take a stand here and the courts will be called into session and they'll proceed forth and the scrolls will be delivered down soon. And I might need to call out for that. And Gabriel's trumpet might need to be called out for the scrolls to be delivered down. I think that's his job to give it a trumpet blast so, the scrolls to be delivered. And when I say scrolls to be delivered, on one level, it's the divine scrolls, they're just a big old chariot going back and forth, delivering the scrolls out. But these scrolls come down to our level. You don't see them in the physical, but it's like, how the Bible talks about a place that says, here's a little scroll. Daniel ate the scroll, and it was sweet it was bitter to his mouth, sweet to his belly. like honey, but bittersweet, to his mouth. Yeah. Well, the scroll just basically gives you the information like a blueprint, readout, instructions, divine instructions. But when that happens, nobody will have to give you your information is the same way. It'll be individual information on there. So if y'all hear something really, really loud going back and forth on the sky, that's the scrolls being delivered. And it sounds like squeaky, squeak, 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 like a bicycle, tricycle, or something. And it shifts back and forth and it pulls, you'll hear click, 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 click. Okay, that scroll's being delivered to them, and it anywhere from messages to instructions, blueprints, whatever it is you particularly need to be seeing, it will be delivering it to you in the spirit. And if you can't get messages or you don't get visions and you can't learn how to adapt to getting your own, it's like lesson plans. Look at it as a lesson plan or instruction plan from God. It's like these are your assignments. You'll have to learn how to read your scrolls so you can get your assignments every day. Because we've all got a place to take now. The ones of us that's made it through the judgment, it has to take the court seats in heaven. The rest of us, be glad you don't have to go through the judgment. That you still can get your assignments and you have a chance to learn from a brand new, fresh platform. Because I'm going to tell y'all something. It wasn't intended for mankind to be judged to begin with. That judgment was for the angels that had fallen and left their first home, which was in heaven, in order to disobey God. God wasn't going to forbid the angels from having children. He just was going to make them do their duty first. He was seeing whether they would do what they were put here to do first, or whether they would rebel and he saw. So if y'all want to know why God loves me so much, because I was obedient. Because the biggest part of the angels were not obedient when they were put to the test. They weren't. And I've been obedient for a very long time to the best of my ability. And to the fact that I got through 2 judgments in the underworld. So I just want to let y'all go now because it's been an hour and I don't really have anything else to talk about right now. I've got to wait until the Lord gives me my next download, and I'm not going to read any tarot cards for y'all right now because I'm just not that good at reading the tarot cards. I still have to learn what all the meanings is a little bit better, and it's something I haven't put a whole lot of time into. I can read a little bit, but I really don't have to have the cards. I just would maybe like to read. Let's see. That's a Light Seer's deck. Light Seer's deck. I hate these cards like this. I need powder or something on my hands. These are regular White Rider-Waite decks. I have Oracle cards over there too. I want to just read an Oracle card instead of these, but I'm going to just draw one card, something like this up out here. Just one this time. It's upside down, so the strength card upside down. Y'all know what that means? Weakness or incompetency. I think it's because I feel incompetent. I feel like this is a big job, and I don't feel, normally I feel a lot competent, and I feel strong and able, but because I really don't want to mess up and make a mistake that could cost somebody's future unnecessarily. I don't want to have anything to look back on. I'm going to do one more and see. But I think that strength upside down was about that. And there's 9 of Cups. 9 of Cups is a good one. That means it's a whole partnership availability. There's 9 cups available right here. 9 cups. Meaning there's cups available to fill with new projects and new endeavors. Fresh slates, fresh cups, bowls, substance could go in there. 9 out of 10, that's a good number. That's 3 pyramids, 3 sets of 3, which are 3 pyramids, which is a set. So you got a whole set of cups out there, meaning you got a full house of cups available. One more is all the, you can have 10 of cups, and that's it. You go up to, the page, the Jack of Cups, Queen of Cups, King of Cups. Let's see. Okay. I'm going to do spirit animal. See what we get on that. But the strength is just, I know what that was about. It was upside down, so it means the lack of or denying or not. It's because I'm not really sure about how I feel about it. I'm going to be very careful and very attentive when I have to do anything to do with the courts, because that's where I don't feel, maybe because it's something I have never done. Okay? I've never done that position. This is the first for me. Other stuff I'm very experienced at, and I've been there and done that a lot. This is the first time I've ever taken the position as a spiritual judge. But God called me to that purpose and asked me to be tested for it and put me through. He personally cut out my lesson plans, how I would be tested and tried. He did that. God tended to that one himself. And he prepared me so that I could do this for other people and find our new positions. And he wouldn't have to take out time to do everybody, because, God does so much for us anyway. This is an otter spirit. It says, you are never alone. And let's see. Then, be playful is the sandpiper spirit. One more, snake spirit, time to heal. Be playful, time to heal. So maybe we could play with this. Is that what he's saying? Is that don't take it so serious. That take it with a little lighter tone. You ain't got to, I have help. So I can be playful. We can be playful at it. We can try to have a good time with it. It doesn't have to be taken so seriously to where we're just unsure of ourselves and it breaks our confidence. Because it can still be taken with, It's time to heal. That means the healing with the courts too. Maybe that part of myself that makes me unsure when I don't have experience in something. I don't have any experience at it, but I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to take it a step at a time, and I'm willing to do the best job as I can for it. Now, I'm going to end it right there. Thank you, everybody. And this is Forevermore Goddess Angie Bell. And I will see you on the next one.